Rothman Tech-Tips. I'm here with Bana Qashu from Cbeyond. Cbeyond is a DC-based tech company, and Bana is going to educate us on MPLS. Bana, thank you for coming on the program today. Please educate me, please educate my audience on MPLS.
Thank you, Matt. We're actually, just to clarify, we are an Atlanta-based company, but we do have a branch here in
Atlanta, DC, it's on the East Coast, so I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and I would love to talk to MPLS today, especially since seeing that, you know, in working with different multiple location businesses in the area, some are not aware of the multi-protocol label switching, which is MPLS, in terms of bandwidth. And basically what MPLS is, it's a mechanism in which high-performance telecommunication networks are used to direct data from one network node to another over a secure line. So essentially, it's bandwidth or internet, if you will, that's privatized so that a company can just communicate to their different locations over a private network. It avoids those complex lookups and routing tables that are typically associated with building a network.
Okay, well, let me interrupt you real quick here. So when you're talking about bandwidth, you're talking about internet service to these particular businesses or customers.
Yes.
And if I'm hearing you correctly, MPLS stands for
Multi-protocol label switching.
Wow, multi-protocol label switching sounds very techy, but I like it because I'm a tech guy.
Yeah.
But what this enables these customers to do, if these customers have these multiple locations, a lot of organizations in Atlanta, DC, New York, LA, Vegas, whatever it is, it gives them a private internet network to communicate between all these different locations.
That is absolutely correct. And so today we'll talk a little bit about why it's important in those scenarios. And one of the reasons is because it is a scalable protocol, and it's because it's highly secure and private. And so
well, we know security is very important. Obviously, your data is very important. You have data flowing between certain locations, certain places around the area, and to make sure that that data is private and make sure nobody can get to it. So security, internet security is a big thing out there. So what you're explaining to me is that these MPLSs are highly secure.
In certain instances, it all depends on the telecommunication company that builds the MPLS network, whether or not they're...
Well, we're dealing with Cbeyond here, so I'm sure it's very secure, and they're a very highly professional company there. Now, tell me this, Bana, what is the difference between MPLS and other internet services out there? I know not everyone's using an MPLS network, so why is MPLS better than some of the other solutions out there?
Well, that's a great question. Actually, there are 5 different points that I want to touch on as to why it's different, and why it's resourceful, if nothing else, in time and in money. Some of the benefits that come along with MPLS is that you're able to do traffic prioritization. What that means is that in an MPLS network, you can direct the traffic specifically to what your company prioritizes as critical applications. So your voice will prioritize as #1. So at any point, none of your phone calls will drop over an MPLS network because it's your #1 priority, meaning those voice packets will go over that network as a priority. Then what you can do is your next critical application could be your company website. So you prioritize to where if someone is on YouTube and is streaming videos, then their YouTube videos will slow down if the rest of your staff around the country is on your company website trying to get work done. So you prioritize the traffic that's coming into your network.
Very important, especially with the growth of voice over IP, people leveraging the internet for voice. It makes all the sense in the world that that's the #1 priority there. So that's really good. So you mentioned 5 points. So priority, in my mind, sounds like #1. So that's really good.
Absolutely. And it's very important that when you're researching telecom companies, in building your MPLS network that you specify some of these benefits that you want, i.e. prioritization, that it is important to you because some design it differently, right? Just the beauty of technology. Just a tech tip for you.
All right, we love tech tips here on the Rothman Tech-Tips. What else you got for MPLS?
Security for MPLS. So you're in your own private bandwidth cloud, essentially. So when you do traffic prioritization, again, you have to double check with the telecommunication company that you're dealing with to ensure that you're not touching the public internet until you absolutely need to touch it based on the different priorities that you have. I mean, your third priority could be YouTube videos, so then you may be able to, you go out into the public-facing internet. It is the only type of connection. The one thing to keep in mind with MPLS connection, it's the only type of connection that's very similar to a point-to-point connection, which are often very costly. So,
okay. Oh, no, that's very important. So we have priority, we have security. What else you got?
You have different providers' edges. Where, for Cbeyond in particular, it's very similar. I don't want to say a point-to-point connection, but we're installing the router right there in the CO, but also in your office suite.
CO, what's a CO?
Central office.
Got it.
It's the central office, telecommunications office. Every, if you will, there's a CO. It's often a brick cement building where all service providers, whether it's Verizon, Comcast, all have their equipment.
Okay.
And what happens is that the MPLS terminates at the customer premise, so at your location, Matt, for example, through a router that's specified for MPLS traffic.
Got it. Okay.
So often you have an internet router, but this is a specific router that just directs MPLS traffic.
Understood. So that helps with that kind of direct connection.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
So, the fourth thing that's really important about an MPLS network is that we can customize the cloud, the MPLS cloud, if you will. And I don't want to bring in the word cloud and confuse things, but you want to think of your MPLS world in your multiple locations as your own little cloud of bandwidth. It can be customized in a sense that you can have a hub and spoke. So say you're in New York, Matt, and that is our headquarters office, and you have locations in San Francisco, Chicago, New York City, right? But your main location is the city. It's New York City. So that could be the hub of your MPLS network, and we just spoke out the different
locations from there.
Yeah. Now, my favorite is fully meshed. Because say your connection from New York to San Francisco cuts out, that's okay because San Francisco is still connected to Chicago. Chicago's connected to New York. So without an image, it's hard to explain, but picture it as this big cobweb that we design to where you don't lose connectivity because it just routes a different direction. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. It's really just a way based off the customer's requirements on how you would structure how the internet's brought into that or any other specific office.
Exactly, exactly. And it's very important for a customer to ask that question because again, going back to different telecommunication providers, not everybody offers one or the other, but it's an important question to ask. It's how can we work with you and your engineers to design our MPLS network or our cloud? Well,
in any tech solution, it's really important to go over the requirements with the customer, really find out what their pain points are, make sure that the solution that you're providing them is tailor-made to their processes and to their organization.
And I couldn't agree more with that. And it brings us to the final note, which is the capital expenditures that are associated with an MPLS network.
It all comes down to the money, right? That bottom line, huh?
Right, exactly. The beauty of an MPLS network, however, is that it's not as costly as a point-to-point, as I mentioned earlier. Very minimal installation fees because all you're doing is installing a different type of router. Again, it goes back to different telecommunication providers and how they do things. But overall, it's something to ask, you know, what is my upfront cost? Because am I building a whole fiber network for this telecom provider in order for you to service my location in Tulsa, Oklahoma, per se? Or is the bandwidth available and can it support my MPLS cloud should I have a location in Tulsa?
I like it. I like it. And
Yeah.
you made some very compelling points there. Obviously, the bottom line, capital expenditure is very important. Security, prioritization. You brought up some great points on why an LPL. Woo, yeah. So it was great. This was very educational, and MPLS is something that all customers should look into, and especially those with multiple locations. So.
Yeah. And so that brings me to the next point. It's who can benefit from it, right? So you can have businesses with multiple locations, businesses with large hosted cloud environments. Because it is a private connection, it is an option to have an MPLS connection from the data center to the location where, or the locations, but say it's a one location.
Well, with the growth of cloud computing and all organizations are looking at the cloud, so what I think you're trying to go at is that if you have all of your data, all of your applications in a specific data center, is that you can have an MPLS connection directly to that specific data center.
Correct, correct. Businesses that want to ensure quality of service and quality of voice and just an efficient environment for both their customer facing but also their inside customer, their staff, and businesses with compliance and security requirements.
Sure. Oh yeah.
So,
That's
yeah.
great.
The one thing that I found with MPLS is it's not one size fits all, and just because I have multiple locations doesn't mean I necessarily need that type of bandwidth, right, or that type of network. So it is very important to solution it and to take a look at your entire infrastructure and how it's working today. It is also important to take a look at it from a standpoint of where am I going to be 2 to 3 years from now. So just because I'm bringing in 100 megs or 1 gig today, and that's sufficient, but I have 3 locations that I'm servicing and they're all trying to ding a server internally at my main location, let's take a look at future growth and infrastructure as well.
Of course. I mean, that's really important to the, you know, when providing these solutions, you got to talk about where do you want to be 6 months from now, a year from now, 2, 3 years from now, and mapping out that calendar and that future when it comes to your technology is a huge thing, whether it's MPLS or any other technology solution out there. So this is great. You really hit it on the head here. I know I learned a lot today on MPLS. I know my audience did. But before I let you go, we have the I don't cook portion of the vlog here. You're in the Alexandria area. Old Town Alexandria is this really cool part of the DC area in Northern Virginia. It's right on the water. So please give us a great restaurant to go to in the Old Town Alexandria area.
Oh, just one. Wow. There's so many good ones there, Matt.
Pick your favorite. Pick your favorite.
Oh, my favorite in Old Town Alexandria. I would have to say Vermilion or Majestic.
Vermilion, I've heard of Vermilion. That's supposed to be a really nice restaurant.
Yeah, it's very good.
And what do you like to get there?
What's that?
What do you get there? What's your favorite dish at Vermilion?
Oh, God, I don't even know. I've tried all of them.
Okay, give us one. Give us something.
I don't know. You're putting me on the spot there, Matt.
That's the point of the vlog here, is to put you on the spot. Is it chicken? Is it steak? Is it fish? Give us something. We're at Vermilion. We're looking at the menu. What should we order?
I would order this steak for sure.
There we go. I'm a steak man, so I'm sold. So Vermilion, Old Town Alexandria, that's with a V, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, and we're going to get the steak because I'm a steak guy, so that's what I'm going to get. The rest of you, if you don't eat red meat, that's your loss. So, Bana, thanks for coming on the program here. I really appreciate it. I learned a lot about MPLS. My audience did. This was really cool. You really gave us some great information there on why the audience should really look into that. So thank you for coming on the program today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime. This is Rothman Tech-Tips.
All right.